abbreviated version, my 11-month-old gets very clingy and likes to be picked up, and it does not want to independent play. We have been trying to do this, gradual increase of time and whatnot. Any tips for the much younger ages where they just don't understand?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the big thing is, to me, there's no reason to leave your child like screaming and crying at that age or make it into any kind of drama. But I always say, like, the three words I use are calm, firm, and consistent. So anytime you're implementing a new skill or a new kind of thing like this, it's like you have to stay firm on what you're doing, because if he's learned that after he fusses and cries, then he gets picked up, it's working for him, right? His strategy is working. And so you have to kind of like win him out on the timer is huge, because then he might be too young to totally understand, but he can understand if you say, hey, I have this timer. When it goes ding, 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 show him the sound beforehand. Then it's time and I'll come and get you. But until then, you have to play by yourself. And so then if he starts fussing, you can come over and, you can comfort him a little bit, and you can rub his back, and you can say, you're doing so great, and just a little bit longer, like, don't worry, like, here, play with this or whatever. But don't stay and engage him, and don't pick him up. So go over, talk to him, give him a little attention, help him regulate and calm down, but then just walk away and say, you're doing a great job, I'll be back in 3 minutes or whatever, right? And if you really stay consistent with that, then he'll learn that you mean it until the timer goes off. And if he does get to a point of like really throwing a fit, same thing, I wouldn't pick him up, but I would just go over and be close to him and just like rub his back and be like, you're doing great, and maybe try walking away. It might just be a lot of back and forth the first few days if he has a tendency to get kind of activated and upset when you do that. So it's just kind of that back and forth. And so that kind of leads me into the next part of this process, which is that depending on the temperament of your child, depending on their age, this is part of the training process, right? And part of helping them with that skill is helping them get through the discomfort of it. So with little ones, that looks like fussing usually. And so if you have a 6-month-old, 6 months is about the youngest I would say you can do this. If your baby's like sitting up and they can like reach and grab some little toys around them, it's a great age to just start this for like 5-10 minutes a day, just so they get comfortable with that. And then same thing, if they start to fuss a little, the difference between your baby's like fussing and like crying, like full on, like something's wrong, right? And so it's totally okay to let them like fuss a little, because that's just the discomfort, but don't let them devolve into like a full on, like, crying tears and super upset, because there's just no reason for that. And so then if they start to get more activated and you hear them escalating, just walk over and soothe them and comfort them. And then with a toddler age, it'll be more like, there might be more of like a tantrum type of situation, right? And same thing, you can go over and say, you're doing so great. And if they say, I don't like this, or this is boring, or I don't want to, just use kind of like the empathy language of like, I know you don't like this. I know this is hard, and you're doing a great job, and I'm going to be back in 2 minutes, and then just walk away. So it's not that you're leaving them to just like throw a tantrum, but it is okay to leave them with like a little bit of fussing, in my kind of school of thought. So if they're crying, it's fine, just come and go, but don't end the session before that timer goes off. And like I said, the first day, this is 5-10 minutes, right? This is not a long period of time. So, and then at the end, you can give them lots of connection and attention, and help them calm down if they've gotten upset. And over a few days, it's going to get easier. It really, typically, if you're consistent, most families, I would say, start having success within 5 days max. But it can take up to 3 weeks. So so there's kind of, it just depends on your child. And then with an older child, this might sound like, rather than crying and fussing, this might sound like, I'm bored, or this is stupid, or I don't want to do this. And so with older kids, I think it's okay to just say like, hey, I know this feels boring, and if you just want to sit in your room and do nothing for 10 minutes, that's fine. You can sit and do nothing, right? And same thing, if they walk out, to say, I know this is hard and you're learning something new, and you just walk them back to their room, and then you walk away, or walk them back to their spot, and then you walk away. So it's just calm, firm, consistent, calm, firm, consistent. And you don't give up until that timer goes off, but you just keep bringing them back to their space, keep giving them the empathy, keep comforting them. And the most important thing is don't resist them, don't defend, and don't fix it for them. So if they're like, I'm so bored, I don't have anything to do in my room, rather than saying, you have this and you have this and you have this, just say, I know it can feel boring. You're doing great. Just go sit in your room. I'm sure you can find something. Okay. And so, because otherwise, when you try to start fixing it for them, they hook you in, right? They engage you in that moment. And the idea is to stay neutral to them and just kind of keep guiding them back and guiding them back. Because in time, what happens is they will find play. And so that goes back to the fact that kids these days are so used to being entertained all the time. They're so used to being in front of a screen and having actively, things coming at them, being in school, having extracurriculars every day of the week. That's how our kids in this culture have been raised. And so it's not their fault that they don't know how to do this, right? We have to give them the skill set to do it, just like most of us were raised. Go outside, and then your parents didn't sit there and try to come up with 20 different activities for you. They just said, go outside, and then you found something to do, right? And so that's where it comes in.